Hi, gang. My name is Dave Worsbicky. I'm coming to you today in regard to the unprecedented and very challenging circumstances that most of us are facing today in regard to the COVID-19 virus. And we'd like to bring to you today our current company's policy in regard to some of the changes that we're forced to make and that we think are for the good of the group. In the true spirit of the social distancing order and the state governor's request to limit exposure and reduce the possibility of transmission by working remotely, we feel that we must take these necessary steps in order to protect our staff, our clients, and our customers. We understand that these conditions are imposing and could feel awkward and extraneous. Effectively, in these challenging and unusual times, it isn't just business as usual, or it isn't things taken for granted. Our industry has always been one to accommodate clients and customers on almost every level. But the mandates placed upon us by the state and federal officials surrounding the COVID-19 virus dictate that we remain safe and that we take extra and necessary precautions to assure everyone else's safety. So, starting immediately and to the very best that we can enforce the procedure, the necessary things, we remain safe, and that we take extra and necessary precautions to assure everyone else's safety. So, starting immediately and to the very best that we can enforce and provide procedures necessary to create a safe environment for all, we have come up with these steps for our offices. Number one, access to our offices will be limited to at least the least amount of egress and ingress possible by the general public and any outside visitors, short of mail delivery and some other needed functions. Number two, we're asking that all realtors and real estate related professionals stay away from the office since most of you are shuttered from doing business other than virtual anyway. Number three, we're asking we don't have physical contact with any lenders unless absolutely necessary. So in the same spirit as the real estate professionals, we ask that you refrain from visiting our offices. Number four, we'll be operating the offices with as few employees as physically possible in an attempt to socially distance ourselves from the possible transmission from ourselves and others of the virus, so that we'll be mandating a certain group to work remotely as much as possible. From today until it's been deemed safe, we will have limited office hours. Again, in the spirit of social distancing and working remotely, there will be days where we feel that the office does not need to be physically open and that our coworkers can operate remotely. We understand that this could curtail the type of service and style of service that our clients are used to. Number six, we are requesting all loan and closing documents for closing to be presented to us and or the client no less than 24 hours in advance of closing. We're going to need an awful lot of help from lenders and anybody else involved in the closing, so that the client can peruse the documents that will be officially presented to them by us and ask questions from their lending authority and the real estate professionals prior to attending closing. We're trying to limit the amount of time that the people are in closing. Number seven, we're asking that all monies be wired for closing to eliminate the need of physical visits by anyone other than the buyer and the seller. This would include any monies needed, especially by the buyer, to close, and the earnest money deposit. If the earnest money deposit cannot be wired, we will be deducting it from the commission check on the listing side. Number eight, all proceeds will be wired, and all commissions will be wired until further notice. This makes our transaction less than wet. Sellers' proceeds will be wired on the same day as possible, and commissions will be wired on the next business day at the latest. But we expect to transmit on the same day as much as possible. Number nine, because of number eight, we're also limiting the number of transactions per day. That we realize that this might be an inconvenience, but we are concerned about the safety and the well-being and the spirit of the order, reducing the possibility of contact and exposure to prevent transmission of the COVID-19 virus. Number 10, in relation to the actual closing, we are asking the buyer and the seller to attend at separate times. We will attempt to arrange those times as conveniently as possible. Therefore, it's easy to say that we will be escrowing the seller's deed until all parts of the transaction will take place, and then we will disperse. If the transaction cannot take place effectively, we will contact the seller and their agent and ask if they would like us to continue to escrow their documents or to have them destroyed until they can coordinate a re-signing at a later date. Number 11, we will be arranging for the sending of the closing documents to the parties via secure platform and or secure email 24 hours in advance of closing. This should give the parties time to ask specific questions with their closers and processors and or their real estate professionals and lenders prior to arriving to closing. On the day of closing, which is number 12, we will be asking the parties to arrive by car in front of the assigned location. This location cannot be their realtor's office. It must be one of our locations, which is currently permitted to be open under self-scrutiny. Number 13, the parties will telephone the office, and our preference is for the closer to meet them at the car. The closer will provide a packet of papers to be signed by the parties and will stand a safe distance observing the signatures. They will provide rubber gloves if desired. The closer will ask the party to provide a smartphone picture of their ID and text or email that to the closer. Number 14, we can also arrange for a totally virtual closing if the parties are not comfortable with the drive-up service. But our limitation is the participation of their lender for the acceptance of all electronic signatures on all documents, as well as the county in which they're recording. Number 15, in certain cases, based on the comfort level of the closer, we may invite the client into the office, where they will be placed in a sterilized conference room to facilitate their signatures only. The closer will stand back from the table and documents left there for the client to be signed. And observe the signing of the documents. We may ask that the clients wear protective masks and gloves, and in most cases, if not at all, our closer will be wearing a protective shield and gloves. Number 16, we will then disperse the documents, money, and keys upon the finalizing of the process and disperse the transaction as dictated on the ALTA form and inform all parties that the transaction is complete. Number 17, we will be asking everyone attending closing to sign a hold harmless surrounding the conditions of the COVID-19 virus and our specific requirements to maintain social distancing. We will not effectuate a closing that any of the parties refuse to sign the hold harmless. Everyone's safety is way too important. Number 18, we will realize that this will slow down the overall process. We feel these steps are necessary for everyone's protection, and we appreciate everyone's patience during these unprecedented times. With the understanding, we feel that we can accommodate everyone effectively and get things done smoothly. Number 19, we are looking at each transaction as if it were a medical procedure. And like that, each transaction will have our people prepare similarly our rooms and offices, much like an operating room. Number 20, we reserve the right to refuse any transaction based upon the conditions which are not comfortable for the manager or the closer or the company in itself for the safety of all involved. So please, please, please help us in trying to maintain these safety procedures and allow also our people to maintain safe social distancing and the things that are being asked to us by our state and local governments. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your patience. We hope to get through this together as a group and facilitate all closings as possible. You may experience some delays in closing, and you may experience some requests in terms of helping you arrive at the closing table. Please, please, please have patience with all. Thank you for your patience.